This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for June 29, 2023. And in the news this afternoon, Rohan Wilson elected President of Rifle Association. Rohan Wilson has been elected as the new president of Jamaica Rifle Association. Mr. Wilson was unopposed at Wednesday's annual general meeting held at the JRA's Mountain View Avenue headquarters. Andrew Yap has been elected first vice president and the former mayor of Portmore, Keith Hines, elected second vice president. Both were also unopposed. The new executive comes 3 weeks after the resignation of former president, retired Major John Nelson, amid a controversy after the Firearm Licensing Authority revoked his dealer's license. The FLA action came after it was discovered that a member of JRA sought to improperly purchase a rifle that was imported into the island for a competition last October. Jamaica's debt payment is still too high, says Clark. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark has said the current 0.28 cents of every dollar going towards debt repayment is still too high for a country that is susceptible to external shocks. Dr. Clark said the government is aiming to further reduce the debt to allow more flexibility with the Jamaican dollar. He was responding to concerns that seeking to pay down Jamaica's debt faster than necessary would reduce the amount of money to invest in the country.
Every 3 to 5 years, we have either a commodity price shock, a natural disaster shock, a geopolitical event that reverberates and threatens to destabilize our economy. It's only by having a fiscal structure where we don't have these high levels of fixed payments that allows us the flexibility to respond to shocks as they happen and thereby reduce their span and reduce their impact. What we are doing is, as a nominal amount of the debt has remained the same, the economy has expanded, and so the debt to GDP ratio has gone down. And fiscally, what is happening is, rather than borrowing to pay interest, we are effectively paying interest out of our own revenues. So, and by doing that, we reduce the accumulation of debt, so that the nominal amount of debt, the absolute amount of debt, stays relatively constant, while the size of the economy expands, which means that the debt ratio goes down.
Education Ministry downplays claims of impending teacher migration crisis. The Ministry of Education is downplaying the narrative that the education sector is on the brink of a teacher migration crisis based on the number of vacancies for teachers being advertised in local newspapers. In one of the advertisements, the board of a rural school listed vacancies for 18 teachers in specific subject areas, with mathematics and English leading the list. But the advertisement did not say if the positions were permanent or temporary. Education Minister Favour Williams believes it is unwise to assume that the vacancies are connected to teachers seeking better opportunities overseas.
I made sure that I got the physical paper from both newspapers, and when I looked at the ads, many of them indicated that they want teachers for 4 months or 8 months, which makes sense because annually 3,500 of our teachers go off on their long leave, 4 months or 8 months. And again, like clockwork, that is happening again this year. For those teachers who are on leave, for those teachers who have made a personal decision to leave, there are teachers who also transition from one school to another within the education sector. And there are teachers who may choose to go and work for one of the private schools. So the movement of teachers within the sector, outside of the sector, that movement is driven by many different factors. But again, having said that, our strategies that we used last year worked well. We will use those again, plus more.
JUTC maintenance staff to undergo training before electric buses roll out. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz says maintenance staff at the Jamaica Urban Transit Company will undergo training in preparation for the widespread launch of electric buses. In closing the sectoral debate in the House of Representatives last week, Leader of Government Business Edmund Bartlett said 50 new buses would arrive on the island by this Friday, among them 5 electric buses. Following Mr. Bartlett's presentation, opposition spokesman on transport Michael Phillips raised questions about whether local technicians would be able to repair and maintain the electric buses. In response, Minister Vaz told the news that the 5 electric buses would bring to 6 the number of units on the island. He said the EV buses are being introduced as a part of a pilot. As the progress of the pilot program continues, we will get a better understanding of the additional equipment that will be required. And as is a norm, our maintenance staff at the JUTC will be exposed to extensive training before they work on the units. And of course, we will work with the dealers and the suppliers through the transfer of skills and information, he said. Mr. Vaz added that there is a plan to import 100 electric buses in the next fiscal year and 100 more by 2026. Garbage collector charged for alleged sexual assault of teen in 2015. A 53-year-old garbage collector has been charged with a grievous sexual assault after he allegedly assaulted a 16-year-old girl in his home in 2015. He has been identified as Eric Forrest, otherwise called the Street of Ferguson Drive in Riverton Meadows at Kingston 11. Reports from the police are that a then 16-year-old girl went to Forrest's home to purchase fruits when he locked her inside his house and sexually assaulted her. A report was made to the police and Forrest was arrested. He was charged after being pointed out during an identification parade. His court date is being arranged. Imposters using Kingston Wharf's name to scam car buyers. Scammers have tried using the reputation of Kingston Wharfs Limited and its managers to solicit funds from car buyers. The wharf, which is the central conduit for auto imports into Jamaica, was made aware of the re-emergence of the scam last week. KWL does not sell cars, said Kingston Wharf's CEO Mark Williams in his attempt to curtail the efforts to leverage the port company's reputation for nefarious purposes. Williams said last week his security team were alerted that persons were inquiring about vehicle sales from imposters posing as employees. The imposters contact prospective car buyers saying they are selling cars on behalf of Kingston Wharfs and then encourage persons to make deposits on cheap vehicles. Williams said it is not the first time the scam has been attempted, hence their effort to alert the public. It is a recurring decimal, he said. People mentioned the names of officers and called inquiring if it was true, said Williams. We do not sell cars, we only facilitate the movement of vehicles, he reaffirmed. Vehicles bought overseas by local car dealers are transited through Kingston Wharfs to sell in local showrooms or transshipped to other countries. Kingston Wharfs operates Jamaica's second largest cargo port and is now controlled by Pan American Group. The port company is currently executing a US $60 million capex program to expand the port's capacity by 25% to 1 million containers. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.